Welcome to DFS JAGS PGA Golf Show 2022 ZOZO Championship DraftKings picks and bets. I'm your host, Tony Altieri, and joining me on the line, my esteemed co-host, fresh off a pretty massive NFL parlay hedge, Dr. Riku Mukherjee. Rick, what's going on, man?
Hey man, what's going on? I'm sad I didn't hit the actual parlay. I had to hit the hedge, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you had some pretty serious action on the NFL. I can't believe you had like a 16 parlay that came down to Monday night.
Yeah, I placed it. I placed it Sunday when Rory was. I don't remember exactly when he was, but he had just. He was about to take the lead at some point. I think it was on 9 or 10 or maybe or something like that. And his odds changed to -125, and then I parlayed it with some NFL action that I was liking at that moment. Like the Cardinals were like kicking the Browns' butt. I was like in on that, and then the Broncos were the Raiders were kicking the Broncos' butt. The only thing I really needed to hit on Sunday was the Cowboys to come back and win that game against the Pats. So I hit all the first 5 legs of the parlay, and then the last leg was the Bills -6 on Monday night. So I ended up betting a pretty large amount on the Titans as a hedge to basically lock up some profit. But I would have been much more rich if the Bills had covered -6.
Yeah, I know. It's I feel bad for the Bills Mafia. Obviously, Mike did his show here recapping the Monday night and talked through, what was not a very good game if you're a Bills fan. And obviously, if you had a 16 parlay for thousands and thousands of American dollars, also very disappointing as well too. But
yeah,
I feel like
I thought they were going to blow him off the field, but apparently the Titans stepped up.
Yeah, I feel like when Derrick Henry wants to like show up and play, there's really no answer for him. Like he's just going to be a man child out there and be 6'3", 250 pounds and be like the best running back on the planet, and there's just no answer for that.
Yep, I'm sure Mike talked about it a lot in his post-game show right before we went on.
Yeah, well, this is a golf show, so let's get back on topic. Before we jump into last week and then get into this week, which is the ZOZO in Japan, I do want to remind everybody to like, comment, and subscribe to the Nickel City Mafia channel. It's a small favor to ask, but it goes a long way to helping us build out the channel and the following and continue to pump out like really good content. Like we talked about, we've got NFL football content, we've got betting, we've got golf betting, we've got fantasy football. There's a bunch of great shows. Rick and Chris and Mike do a wonderful job managing and producing great content. And so just click the like button, follow us, subscribe, shoot us comments. We love to interact with everybody. It's a great way, it keeps everything going. And maybe you win your fantasy football league, maybe you take down a Vegas casino, who knows? Speaking of Las Vegas, CJ Cup last week at the Summit Club, like we talked about with your parlay, we were this close to hitting a double winner in Colin Morikawa. Homeboy goes out on his home course, shoots 10 under 62 on Sunday, eagles the 72nd hole, has the clubhouse lead at 24 under. But obviously it didn't work out that way, and Rory McIlroy did what Rory McIlroy does at Fazio courses.
Yeah, I wasn't watching much golf or football on Sunday. I was playing golf myself, so I didn't really know what to do because I had this pretty big ticket on Morikawa pre-tournament, and I saw that he shot 29 on the front on Sunday, and he was on fire. And I was like, man, is he really going to win this tournament? And then I saw Ricky like kind of like imploding a little bit. So I didn't think Ricky had any chance of winning it. That was pretty much down to Morikawa or Rory. And I was just looking at the live odds. And then as soon as Rory basically got the even money on Sunday, I was like, he has more holes than Morikawa left, and he's looking like he's probably playing well. So I fired that parlay on with McIlroy in it because I didn't like the even money, but I just threw in some football and just luckily got hit. But Morikawa played absolutely wonderful on Sunday. I didn't watch any of it, but 29 on the front is good anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's like what we were looking for him to do all week. He knows the course better than anybody else. And one of the things that he talked about after round 3 was the fact that at that course in a normal setup, he hits driver off every single hole, right? Yeah. All the par 4s, all the par 5s. And that he didn't do that the first 3 days. And then of course on Sunday, he decided to go with the driver on the majority of the holes and played absolutely lights out. It was funny because we were going back and forth with Mike about whether or not we had somebody in contention. And the only guy at the end of the day on Thursday that was even close was Abraham Answer. He was, like 18, 19 under, 3 or 4 strokes back, playing in the last group with Rory and with Ricky. But I knew he wasn't going to be the guy. And I was just hoping one of those guys, specifically Morikawa, would go out and shoot lights out. And he did. It wasn't enough, And like we talked about with Rory, he just has these courses where he plays well. Quail Hollow was one of the comp courses that we identified. He won Quail Hollow with no form, in weird fashion, which is not typical Rory. And that's the same way he won this one. I mean, I think he led the field in strokes gained putting, which is insane. He was like 45th in ball striking, which is totally outside of how Rory typically wins golf tournaments.
Yeah. But he was almost dead last in the field in strokes gained approach last week.
Which is crazy.
How did he win that tournament?
Yeah, it didn't play out the way that we thought it would. And of course, Ricky Fowler, I think that was the story, is Ricky comes back after missing the cut at the Shriners and plays like vintage Ricky from 5 or 6 years ago, where he plays lights out, he leads the field in ball striking, he putts decently, not great. But Ricky, I think, being a story again, and now we head into this week in Japan where the field is much, much weaker. It's still, 78 guys, a no-cut event. And here's Ricky again, like we were talking about pre-show, staring at us at 25 to 30 to 1. And, is he a live guy after what we saw last week? Are we going to get Ricky again from last week? Or are we going to get Ricky that's been Ricky for the last 2.5 years?
I don't know. I'm gonna wait off on Ricky for now. I'm not gonna bet him at this low of a number. Just coming off of a good week, I need to see it from him a little bit more before I buy into him. Maybe he's turning it around. Who knows? He has some baby swag coming up and stuff like that. So who knows? But I did make I keep notes for some notes for every tournament. I did write in big bold letters that if Rory is ever 20 to 1 or worse on a Fazio course, it's an auto bet. So from now on, if we ever get that ever again, 20 to 1, maybe even lower, like 17, 18 to 1 on a Tom Fazio course, click Rory's name no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, that was, again, one of the things that we discussed kind of like in our weekend tweets and, our text messages going back and forth. It was like we were kind of searching for that guy who was value on the board. I thought it was Patrick Reed at 65. I'm like, that's an auto bet for me. You could have got Ricky at, I don't know, like 70, 80, 100 to 1.
He was worse than that. I think he was like 130 to 1 last week.
Exactly. But Rory, to your point, was the value, because there were some books that had him as high as like 25 or 28 to 1 going into the tournament because his form had been so bad. And you're absolutely spot on. It's like when all of the intangible things line up and point to a guy, you just got to hammer the guy, ignore everything else and just hammer that guy when there's value.
Yeah, I agree. It was a tough name to click because he just wasn't playing well, and he just comes out of nowhere, and I guess the course suits his eye well. Like I said, like he didn't even play that well iron wise. He just mashed it off the tee and pretty much made everything that he saw on the green. So it is what it is. He's one of the best players of all time. He's probably, I mean, outside of Tiger and Phil, he's probably the best player of my generation, at least like growing up and watching like after Tiger, got hurt and stuff like that. So it's either him or DJ. So it's not surprising. Congratulations to him on his 20th win. He's pretty much a lifetime exemption on the PGA Tour from now on, I think. And I'm expecting big things from Rory now this year. I think after getting that win under his belt, I expect him to have a good season.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time that he's ever won his opening event for a season. And like you mentioned, he joins an elite class of guys who have won 20 events before their 40th birthday. There's like 6 guys in the history of PGA Tour golf that have done that. Every one of those guys is inarguably in the top 10 for greatest PGA golfers of all time. So he's definitely an elite company, and I'm glad to see him win. Rory's one of those guys, like Ricky and like Jordan Spieth, when they're playing well, it makes golf more interesting for the general public, right? Like sports, ESPN, Fox Sports, they follow when Ricky and Rory and Jordan win. So having him be successful, I think, is a great storyline. And the only thing better than that would be if we get Tiger back this year, which, man, I would love to see that.
Me too. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think he's probably going to not play this season and then maybe come back next season. But Yeah, I agree. Golf's better with Rory playing good. Golf's better now with Jordan playing good. If Ricky can get back into the mix, it's much better. Instead of seeing him in commercials only and actually seeing him play golf on Sundays would be a nice little change, because I'm a Fowler fanboy. I've been a Fowler fanboy for my whole life pretty much, and he's pretty much my second favorite golfer of all time behind Tiger. So I would love to see him get back in the winner's circle. Maybe this week. Who knows?
Yeah, well, speaking of Tiger Woods, or I should say evoking his name, we are going to go to Japan in the 2022 ZOZO Championships, which is the site of, I think, maybe not Tiger Woods' last win, because I think the Masters came after this, but
No, the Masters was before this.
Okay, so it was his
last
win.
win.
Yeah, his 83rd victory or something like that at the ZOZO Championship. It is at the same course. It's at Accordia Golf Narashino Country Club. I don't know how those three words all fit together in terms of the name of the course.
You want to give out the bonus code before we get into this?
You know what? Mike will kill me if I don't go through this. So I'm glad that you reminded me. But for those of you who have been entering the promo giveaway that we are doing for the Josh Allen autographed helmet, it's really simple. Go into the description of this video, click the link, follow all the prompts, and you will be entered to win an autographed, authentic Josh Allen football helmet. In addition to that, we do have a bonus code. Rick, do you have the bonus code for the kids at home?
Yes, it is Kindness Wins. KINDNESSWINS, I believe. That's what. Yep, Kindness Wins. That's the bonus code for today.
And along with that, part of the giveaway that we are doing, not only to build the following here on the Nickel City Mafia channel, but also we want to encourage folks to do something nice for other people. Be kind to other humans. Help a homeless guy out. Buy somebody a coffee at Starbucks. Help an old lady across the street. Be a good human being. That's part of the contest. But if you enter the bonus code that Rick just entered in, that will get you 5 extra entries to win the Josh Allen helmet, which we'll be giving away at the end of this month. So the chances to enter are getting few and far between, and every single entry will help. And if you subscribe to the channel and you follow us on the show, hey, Rick's going to throw 10 more extra bonuses entries in there for you as well too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Rick is guaranteeing that. So, anyways, back to this week, ZOZO in Japan. The other thing of note that I will say about this tournament, and you're going to hear it from everybody out there, is that lock is going to happen at like 3 o'clock West Coast time.
So it's tomorrow, Wednesday at 4 p.m. I think.
Yeah, so it is basically a full day early. Obviously, we're used to the Thursday locks, so we're going to get some prime time.
4:30 tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get some primetime golf on the East and West Coast out here. The guys will be in Japan. It will kick off at 6, 7 in the morning that time. But to Rick's point, that will be 4:30 in the afternoon on the West Coast, 7:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast. So make sure if you're playing on DraftKings or doing bets that you get your stuff in early. Have that stuff all done before noon, so that way you don't miss out on winning any of the monies this week. The course itself is a par 70. It's 7,041 yards, which is a fairly short course. Typically, when we see courses like this, we love bombers because of the fact that they can use their length to take advantage of the course. Tiger Woods won this tournament a few years ago in pretty amazing fashion. I think he won by 3 or 4 strokes over Hideki Matsuyama. And Tiger led the field in ball striking. He was very good off the tee, not elite, but was very good off the tee. And then his irons really propelled him to victory. Making me believe that the key stats this week are going to be heavily related to approach. Typical of Japanese courses like we saw at the Olympics, the holes will have 2 separate green complexes. They will both be bent grass, but instead of having one large green, you'll have 2 smaller greens, and that'll allow the tournament officials to kind of move pin placements around in unique positions, which will change the way that approach shots and setup will need to be played for each one of those holes. But strokes gained approach will be important. Staying in the fairway, and like we mentioned, distance will be a big advantage this week. So off the tee is going to be important. Birdie or better. It was a score fest here 2 years ago during the COVID year. This tournament moved to Sherwood Country Club, which is where Patrick Cantlay won. But we are back, like I said, in Japan at the same course, and I expect this to be another score fest like we just saw here last week. Something north of -20 to par, I think, is where they're going to end up if you're looking to target winners. par 4 scoring. When you talk about par 70s, every single hole counts, and it really puts an emphasis on par 4, so par 4 scoring. And then, of course, like I mentioned, driving distance. Guys who are able to put the ball down the fairway a long ways will have a massive advantage this week over other guys in the field who will be taking approach shots from much farther distances. With all that being said, Rick, let's jump to the top of the board. There are 6 names above $10,000. 3 of which I think are warranted. The other 3 are there because, well, the rest of the field pretty much is dog shit. So we've got 3 guys that I think deserve to be there in Morikawa, Xander, and Matsuyama. And then 3 guys that are there because, well, everybody else is pretty terrible. And that's Will Zalatoris, Casey, and Fleetwood. Who do you like at the top of the board this week?
Before I get into that real quick, I am going to add one more stat that I'm looking at this week, and that's par 3 scoring, actually, because there's 5 par 3s on this course. So par 3s between 175 to 200 is a stat that I'm looking at because, like I said, it's 5 par 3s, 3 par 5s, which is a little different than some normal courses that are par 70s. So par 3 scoring definitely pretty important this week for me. And just really quickly, I know you're loving the approach and the off the tee and all that stuff, but when I looked at the 2019 leaderboard, it was Tiger, Hideki, Sungjae, Rory, Gary Woodland, Corey Connors, Billy Horschel. Like, these names, they all scream ball strikers to me. So I'm definitely liking the ball strikers this week, and I'm just gonna kick it off by saying that I'm all in on Hideki this week, and I think he's gonna go back to his home country and win this week. He finished second here 2 years ago, so I think the home field, home course advantage for Hideki this week. He's my guy up here at the top in the 10K range for sure. Besides that, I mean, I like the guys at the top, Morikawa and Xander. They're coming in more highly owned than Hideki. So as a GPP play or a DraftKings play, leverage wise, getting off of Morikawa or Xander, I'm going to drop down to Hideki. But you can't deny the fact that they both have their Japanese heritage, and they both played well at the Olympics and stuff like that. So they're obviously the 3 chalk guys there. Morikawa, Xander, and Hideki, and then the lower owned guys are Will Z and Tommy Fleetwood, who no one's pretty much playing, and I don't think I'm going to play either. So I think I'm just going to eat the chalk with those 3 guys up top. But my main guy is Hideki.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the Olympics parallel. Oddly enough, 5 of the 6 guys priced above $10,000 competed in the Japan Olympics this year. So Paul Casey and Tommy Fleetwood both represented England. Obviously, Hideki represented Japan, and then both Morikawa and Xander were representing the United States. The lone guy that did not compete in that event was obviously Will Zalatoris. But when you look at the stats, the ones that we talked about, and then of course tournament history and then form coming in, Will's right there in the stat model that I produce every week with Xander Schauffele. Obviously, we've yet to see him get to the point where he's been in contention to win on Sunday, but you're a big Will Z truther. Are you not on Will Z this week?
No, I'm not. I'm taking a backseat to Will Z, to be completely honest with you. I mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna wait till he plays at some tougher courses before I buy back in on Will Z. These birdie fests just seem to not be clicking with him for some reason. Like, he had a good finish at the Shriners a couple weeks ago, but I want to see him play. I'm going to be more into him at like Torrey or Honda National, like Honda Classic, like courses like that. I'm going to be really super heavy on Will Z this year, but I think I'm out on Will Z for right now. I just need to see a little bit more on him and see if he can actually compete in birdie fests like this, and then maybe I'll buy back in. But for right now, I'm out.
Yeah, it's interesting. All 6 of those guys you mentioned, the course history that happened in 2019 or the 2020 season, however you want to evaluate it, that every one of the guys in the top 10 was ball strikers. You named off all those guys, and the guys above 10K this week are all ball strikers. Team No Putt in full effect at the top of the board. So you just got to hope if you're going to be playing one of those guys. I'm with you. I like Hideki a lot at the top of the board. I couldn't find odds on him that I like this week. In the book that I used, he opened at like 14, and he's all the way down to 12. Morikawa and Xander were sub 10, and I just cannot touch those numbers. So instead, I'm going to pepper a bunch of losers in the next range, and that'll feature a bunch of guys at 9,000s, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about with the quality of guys that are at the 9K range.
It goes down pretty downhill, even starting at Tommy Fleetwood at 10,000 even.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, from Tommy down, the quality of the field deteriorates pretty quick.
Real quick, are you factoring in travel at all from Vegas to Japan on a short
trip? The only reason why not is so many of these guys are flying private, so it's not like they're like you or I that have to go to the airport 4 hours early and get TSA pre-check and go through the lines and then wait to board the plane. Like, these guys are literally taking private jets, across the Pacific to get there. Yes, there is going to be an adaptation in terms of time, but most of these guys probably got there, I don't know, late Monday night, which would be Tuesday morning in Japan, and they're going to have a couple days to acclimate and get used to the weather and the time. And I think that should mean by the time we get to Friday, Saturday, these guys will be firing on all cylinders. And let's not forget, like we talked about, it's a 78-man field and there is no cut. So you can afford to have a terrible round the first round and still come back and play. And this course, to your point about like the difficulty, it's not going to be super hard. These guys are going to put up big numbers. And just like we saw last week at the CJ Cup, you're going to see guys shoot 10, 11, maybe 12 under on a course like this and absolutely light it up.
Yeah, and also Hideki does this journey all the time, right? So I think he's used to it, and that's another reason why he's my guy this week.
Yep, I like Hideki a lot. Like I said, he'll be a DraftKings play for me. He'll be in my player pool. I just can't touch him because of the betting odds in terms of my one and dones and bets this week. But I do think he is the best value at the top of the board above $10,000. Okay. In the 9K range, it's headlined by Joaquin Niemann, who I do like a lot this week. Same narrative, ball strikers, team no putt. Ricky Fowler, we talked about him a little bit before he even jumped into the tournament. $9,800. Ricky went from being a guy that was in the 6Ks to $9,800. Alex Noren, Siwoo Kim, EVR, who's been quietly playing very, very well since his victory last season. Keegan Bradley, Mav McNeely, who was a big favorite from a lot of different people, including myself last week. Cam Tringali, Emiliano Grillo, and Mac Hughes, who was like $6,400 last week, all above $9,000. Who do you like this week in the 9K range?
I'll start it off right at the top with Niemann. I'm a Niemann truther also. He's really good on bent grass greens. What did he do at the CJ Cup? I don't actually know. Did he finish or did he play even in the CJ Cup? I don't even know if he played or not. But
so Niemann has played both years, both 2020 and 2019.
No, last week at the CJ Cup. What did he do?
At the CJ Cup, yeah. So at the CJ Cup, I think he finished T45, so not great. Okay. He had that the hole out from like way off on another fairway. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah. We were talking about that because I actually had him in a head-to-head. That's right.
Yeah, so that was his best day of scoring. That was headlined by that shot, but his form's not been great. I mean, he's got a T45 before that, a T40 at the Shriners, and then 2 top 30 finishes in the playoffs at the BMW and the Tour Championship, which basically means he came in dead last.
Okay, but I think I'm just gonna take Niemann with the pedigree here, just compared to the other golfers in this range. I think he's a much better golfer than all these guys. I'm out. Yeah, I'm out on Ricky. I don't mind some Noren or some EVR, like you said. But I think I'm gonna stick with Niemann, and then I'm gonna go to some Mav McNeely. I like him also this week. Pat Mayo always says play Mav on smaller greens, and I think the greens are a little bit smaller than normal. Even though they're like you
said,
double greens or whatever, but the actual green that they're hitting to are smaller. So I think a par 70 with small greens, I think Mav McNeely is a pretty good play. So I think Niemann and Mav are my 2 favorite plays up here.
Yeah, I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to take the exact opposite in the 2 guys. The first one is going to be Cam Tringali, arguably the most steady of all the guys in this range. So I'm taking the philosophy of taking a guy who has a very high floor, not a high ceiling, but you're going to get 4 quality rounds of golf out of him. So he can be a staple in cash games because he's going to score. He's probably going to finish T20. I don't think he's going to win, which is why I'm not going to bet him. And then the other side of the coin is a guy in Siwoo Kim, right, where you've got a drastic range of outcomes in Siwoo. He could win the thing by 5 strokes. He could come in absolutely dead last. He will be a guy that I would be betting this week, absolutely, and I will have him sprinkled into my lineups. But I do like Tringali this week just from the fact that I think he provides a lot of stability in a range like we talked about that has, a bunch of guys who were all over the place the last 3 or 4 weeks and now find themselves in a weak field above $9,000.
I can't get to Siwoo at 35 to 1 and $9,400 or whatever he is. That's a big ask, I think. I'd rather go to Keegan or Mav. Keegan actually played pretty good here. He finished 13th here 2 years ago, so I don't mind some Keegan, but I can't get there with Siwoo. I like the Tringali call though. It's not bad.
Yeah, I just think Siwoo is one of those guys where he can show up out of nowhere and win, and it's just a total fluke deal. Yes, he does play better on like Donald Ross courses. He's a Donald Ross specialist, but again, I'm taking a flyer, hoping maybe I can get some ownership on a guy, and then again from the betting markets, whether he comes in T4 or dead last, if he doesn't win, he nets me nothing. So.
What about your boy Griot? He played really well on Sunday. I think he shot like 62 on Sunday. That's pretty good.
So Griot was my third man in, and the reason that I didn't add him to the player field is because they took Tringali, and I feel like you're kind of getting the same kind of guy, and I do think that a lot of folks, because of the stats, are going to be picking Griot up.
Yeah, he's actually coming in, according to the numbers that I'm seeing, he's coming in the highest owned in the 9K range. And then that way Tringali is coming in at half the ownership. So definitely a good pivot for Tringali from Griot, I think.
Yeah, I think Griot is just a name that people know in a grouping like we talked about that is just highly variable. Noren's the other guy that I kind of scratched my head on statistically in the model. He rates out fantastic. He's been playing much better. A lot of people, including myself, had him kind of targeted last week. Obviously, it didn't pan out. But Noren is another guy to kind of keep your eye on, as I think, if you're talking about approach, his approach has been much, much better over the last 2.5 months. Yeah. You're starting to see the Noren that was there before. And he has been putting better as well, too. So ever since he came close in the tournament that Cam Davis won, which was the Rocket Mortgage, he's kind of been on a little bit of a mini heater, and I think you can continue to ride him, and he'll do well in DraftKings this week.
Yeah, I agree.
Dropping down to the 8,000s, again, the narrative of a lot of weak guys in this field, but headlining this, I think, is everybody's kind of darling pick to win this tournament, and the stats absolutely love him, and that's Johnny Vegas, CT Pan, K.H. Lee, Carlos Ortiz, Charlie Hoffman, Lonto, Palmer, Adam Schenk, who had very, very good form here and is rating out as the #1 golfer in my model, Chris Kirk, and then, of course, low budget Alex Noren, Matt Wallace. Who do you like in the AKs, Rick?
I'm going to go to the bronze medalist. He's my man this week, CT Pan. CT freaking Pan. I bet him. I like him on DraftKings. I think he's a good pivot off of Johnny Vegas. And like you said, I also like Schenk. He's coming in with some good form. I like the fact that he's #1 in your model. So I think my guys here are CT and Schenk. I understand the Vegas love. He's great off the tee. He's been playing pretty well. It seems like a good course fit for him. I was super high on him at the Olympics. With Mito at the Olympics, so definitely knows he can play in Japan because he played pretty well at the Olympics. But I'm gonna go to CT. I think this is a good course fit for him. Good, he's been playing pretty well, and I like Schenk, like I said, and I'm out on guys like Hoffman and Griffin, Palmer. These guys are just not playing that well recently. If anything, I would take a flyer on like Ortiz maybe, but that's about it for me in this range.
Yeah, I'm with you on CT Pan. He's the guy that I like the most in this range. When the odds came out and he was like 35, 38 to 1 to open, he was the first name that I clicked. Yeah. I just think, he played so well in the Olympics. He had a very good end of the season. He's been playing great. Obviously, he ranks out very, very well in terms of his recent form. So I kind of like what I've been seeing from CT. So I think you and I are on the same page there.
He opened at some books at 80 to 1.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like if you could find him north of 50, I mean, I would take him. I've seen that number drop all the way below 30 now, so I would even jump back in at 30 or 35 if I could find it. But
I got him at 40.
Yeah, so those are great numbers. I think he is probably the best play from this range. And then Shank, who, again, a guy that's quietly played very, very well. There has been some variance. He's the kind of guy that, like, every other tournament will pop with like a T10, a T5, and then he'll miss a cut and finish 56, and everybody forgets about him, and then he pops back up again. So it really is what version of Adam Shank we're going to get. But obviously the model loves him. So I will be using him on DraftKings.
He was just in the final group a couple of weeks ago, wasn't he?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago at the Shriners, I think he was in the final group. So
he's playing good golf.
Yeah, and again, in these weak field events on easier courses, he shows up. He plays well, and bentgrass is his best surface. So I do like Adam Shank as well a lot with you on DraftKings.
Any love for Ryan Palmer?
So here's my deal with Palmer. I can't use him in DraftKings because I don't know what's going to show up. I do like him as a bet this week. He's got very, very good course history here. I think he's
finished 10th here last time.
Yeah, so he's the kind of guy where he plays well at courses that he has typically played well at in the past.
But he's been so bad recently.
I know, and there's no
miscut after miscut after miscut.
And there's no John Rahm narrative, right? It's not like, oh, it's the Rahm Palmer course, right? So
I don't even know if we can say that if he keeps playing this bad.
I know. The other guy that I circled, but I figured we kind of rode the wave, and now we're on the backside of that peak is Charlie Hoffman. Yeah. A month ago, I would have been all over him at 85 in this field and probably would have bet him at 40 or 50 to 1. But I feel like, he's kind of missed his opportunity, similar to Mav McNeely in the prior range. Like, we hit that apex, and now we're on the backside of the mountain. So for me, it's CT Pan and Shank, clearly, just like you. My assumption is Johnny Vegas is probably going to be one of the most highest owned guys in this range and probably in the tournament.
I think he's the highest owned guy in the tournament, like overall.
Yep. So I will be on him on the betting card, but he will not be on my DraftKings pool because you've got to get some leverage somewhere. And if we're going to be playing, one, maybe two guys at the top of the board, like, we're going to need all the leverage we can get and all the, the extra cushion on salary that we can get as well too. So Johnny Vegas will not be in my DraftKings lineup this week.
Yep.
Dropping down to the 7,000s. Again, for the 7,000s, a fairly small number of guys at this range. And again, Luke List, team ball striker, at the top of the board. All the way down to my boy, and I don't know how, maybe it's just because he's a Boise State Bronco at 6,900, Troy Merritt. I decided to elevate him into the 7,000 because he is a Boise State Bronco. But who do you like in the 7Ks, man? There's some guys like Robert Streb recently who are going to have some recent form that's going to bode well for them. But is there anybody out in this range that you feel is mispriced or that there's potentially some value on?
I like Harry Higgs. He played well last week. He was a staple in my lineups last week. He is coming in a little bit chalky. But a guy that I like that no one's really talking about, coming in pretty low owned. I did bet him. Nothing really popping off the page, but I just have kind of a gut feeling on him this week is Brendan Grace. I think he plays pretty well at these kind of par 70 bent green courses.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So I think I'm going to be in on Grace and Higgs in this range. I'm looking at your overall model ranking. I see the love for List. I see the love for Norlander. I see the love for Merritt. Well, we'll get to Merritt at the 6K range, but I don't know if I can get there with List. He's coming in pretty chalky at like 18%. I'd rather pivot down to like Higo, to be completely honest with you. Off of List, I think Higo's probably a better golfer than List, to be completely honest with you.
Absolutely.
So I'd rather do that pivot. But in that little middle range right there, I think I'm just going to stick with Higgs and Grace, and then dropping down to the bottom of the 7K range. I don't really have any takes here. I mean, I know you like Seabass like always. He's just not playing. Yeah, he's not playing that great. I'd rather maybe go to someone like, I don't know, Takumi Kanaya. Like he's a little flashy kind of name. He is. He's a top 60 in the world OWGR. But probably Tom Hoagie. He's been playing pretty well with his irons recently. Stats are lining up for him. But yeah, I don't know. Between those low guys, I'm a little torn on who to go with. Who do you like in that low 7K range?
The guy that I like who, for whatever reason, stats aren't great, form isn't great, course history is not great because he doesn't have any, is Sepp Straka, and it's purely because of distance. He's one of those guys that mashes the ball off the tee, and we've seen it in the past where he can have like super low rounds. He's a first round leader bet for me this week.
He was first round leader at the Olympics.
Yeah, so and that was the other big reason, is the corollary to the Olympic field. So I have quite a few prop bets on Sepp Straka this week, and then I will have him in my DraftKings pool, hoping that he can kind of leverage what he learned in his experience here a few months ago playing in the Olympics. So he would probably be the one guy from down there. I also like Hoagie, like you. He's just been playing good golf. The ball striking narrative, I think he's a hell of a play, especially at $7,000. He's a guy that you get typically at $65,000 to $7,000, and in a trash field, he got no elevation in his pricing. So I do think he's probably the one guy that didn't get the bump that everybody else got in this range. So
the only player in the 7K range that's seen this course before is Pat Perez.
Yeah, but Perez, dude, and I like Pat Perez, but he's been so bad.
Yeah, coming off of a WD, I don't even know why he was here at the last tournament.
Yeah, he's just I don't know. There just hasn't been anything that I can hang my hat on where I'm like,
me either.
At least he's doing this right. The only other guy that I like, and I rode him the last few tournaments, was Henrik Norlander. Norlander, you talk about ball striking, talk about off the tee game and approach, like he fits the mold perfectly. So I think Norlander is another name here at 7,400 that has a little bit of value, and I think is going to be a good pivot off of Higgs. I just like you, Grace and Norlander, I think you can get a lot of leverage in terms of ownership away from Higgs by going to either one of those guys. And then my boy Seabass, man, I have a Sebastian.
Can't quit him. You can't quit him. Yeah,
I cannot quit him. And you know what? The thing is, I'm betting him at like 150, 200 to 1. So the sprinkles that I throw him on a rare instance that he wins a tournament like he does, once every 3 years, I'll get all the money back. It gets all that positive equity back because he's such a big
I guess if he actually wins another tournament in his career, but I don't think he's going to win this week. I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, he's another guy. Olympic experience. He was in that group, the massive playoff for the bronze medal. So
I forgot about that.
So I am taking a little bit of that, and then I think Seabass has also played this course as well too. Not great in terms of how he finished. I think he finished outside of the top 40.
No, he didn't play at this course.
That's right. He played at Sherwood when it was in California.
Yeah. The only person, like I said, the only person that's seen this course that's in the 7K range is Pat Perez. The only person.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So again, for me, that's more of a FOMO bet. I can't quit. I can't.
It's not even FOMO anymore. It's like,
I know it's like auto bet every week.
He's like,
take my money.
You like have a poster of him like above your bed. Like you like look at him when you're going to sleep.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just every time I see him, I'm like, he's a better player than that. Like that's mispriced. Like I have to.
No, but he's actually only good for like 27 holes.
Believe me, I'm well aware, Rick. That you're not, as a guy who builds a statistical model, I see the stats. This is purely just a problem that I have. Some people take OxyContin. Some people drink themselves to death. I bet Sebastian Munoz. That is my problem.
There you go. I guess it's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah, I guess in relation to other problems that you could potentially have, it is
first round leader. Just bet him first round leader.
Yeah, I love him and Sepp Straka for first round leader. So that would be my suggestion. Don't put him in your DraftKings pool. Do not bet him, but do bet him first round leader.
Yeah. Play him in a round 1 showdown on DraftKings.
There you go. That is a smart play if you're going to play him on DraftKings. Now, truly living up to the name of dumpster diving, the sub $7,000 range. But
this is on another level, man.
It's pretty terrible because there's like, I don't know, 20 random Japanese guys that nobody's ever heard of in here, mixed in with some names. And I do think there are a few guys that I would go to in relation to some of the guys even in the 7 and 8Ks. It's headlined by Chesson Headley, who, again, Chesson is what Chesson is, but he's at 6,900. Troy Merritt, who is a guy that I had elevated in the $7,000, I gave him the Boise State bump, but he is 6,900. I think he is the best player in this range, and he will be a staple in my lineups this week.
Who's that you said? Justin Hadley?
Troy Merritt.
Oh, Troy Merritt. Yeah, absolutely. I love Troy Merritt this week. He's rating out really well in your model. He finished 30th here a couple years ago. He's good in these birdie fests for sure. Him, and I also really like Sung Hoon Kang. I bet him this week. Sung Kang. He was a first round leader recently at the Shriners, I think. So he definitely has one of those low rounds in him for sure. So Sung Kang and Troy Merritt, I love them this week. And then you got a bunch of names that I have no clue who these people are. There's one name that I'll talk about in a minute that I just heard on a podcast, so I just threw him on my betting card just for the hell of it. But sandwiched between all these Asian guys who we don't know is Kyle Stanley.
Yeah. Again, the captain of Team No Putt. Other than Corey Connors, I don't know another guy who's a better ball striker and a worse putter than Kyle Stanley.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why he's so bad at putting. He needs to change his putter or do something. But I'm looking at your model. I like the fact that Sung Kang ranks out 13th in your overall model rank there. That makes me a little happy because I think Sung Kang and Troy Merritt are going to be staples in my lineup.
Yeah, the other guy that I really like is Roger Sloan. He's a name that a lot of people will remember from, last season and some of the swing season events that have happened. Plays well. The guy can score in birdies. He typically plays well Thursday through Saturday and then falls apart on Sunday. I think the closest he came was at the Rocket Mortgage when Cam Champ won. I think he ended up losing by 2 or 3 strokes. But I do like him down in this range. A couple other names that I'll throw at you just because I think if you're going to play potentially 2 guys above 10K or a guy in the 10Ks and a couple guys in the 8s, you're going to have to go down into this range. A couple names that I'll throw at you that I also like. Sam Ryder. Sam Ryder has had flashes and played very well in spurts. He ranks out number 1 in my model in terms of birdie or better. The other guy that I also like down here as well, just because of the fact that he can drive the absolute crap out of the ball, is Brandon Hagee. Hagee's a guy that's popped up in some of these weaker field events over the course of the last 5 or 6 months. The other thing that he does very, very well is drive the ball a long ways. And like I mentioned, driving distance, I think, is going to provide a lot of advantage. He is number 1 in the field in driving distance this week. So I think those are a couple names. If you've got to throw some darts down here, I'm with you on Stanley. If you got to dip down, in the low 6Ks, the other weird guy to me is Wes Bryant. And Wes Bryant's he's an actual name at $6,000. I realize we see him like 6 times a year, but hey, if you need a guy at 6K and your options are 14 random Japanese guys and Bill Haas, Wes Bryant looks pretty damn good at $6,000.
Yeah, I'm gonna, instead of Wes Bryant, I'm gonna tell you that I'm gonna be playing Sean Norris at 6K. He actually he's a South African guy. He is OWGR wise, he's ranked in the top 100. He's 86th in the world, and on top of that, he played in the Japan Open Golf Championship last week in Japan and won the tournament. I know it's against not anyone we know, obviously. But he did win last week in Japan, and he didn't have to travel anywhere because I think that course is really close to the course they're playing this week. So he got into this field because Paul Casey withdrew. So at 6K, Sean Norris, not the worst idea if you're slamming in like Hideki and Morikawa into the same lineup. You're gonna probably want a 6K guy. So I'd rather go to Sean Norris, who's been acclimated to this part of the world for the last couple of weeks and won last week. So I definitely don't mind that. And then one other guy, just because I heard his name on a podcast and I did a little research on him. His name is, I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly or not, but his name is Ryosuke Kinoshita. Okay. He is, what is he at? He's at 6,200. He is ranked 72nd in the world, so he's actually ranked higher than Sean Norris. He played last week in the same Japan Open Golf tournament. He finished T3rd. This guy is actually, around the world, he's been playing pretty decent. He actually finished T43rd at the FedEx St. Jude last year. I think he played in a couple other big-time Japan events and won them. So at 6,200, Not a name that anyone's going to play. Obviously, he's on my betting card at 150 to 1. Some Kinoshite for me from down here.
No, two really good nuggets of information. And again, like we kind of prefaced, it's a no-cut event. So you can throw some darts down here. And if you want to win, you're going to have one of those guys that's going to be like, I don't know, 0.5% ownership that nobody else is playing. Why not take it a stab? A guy who won a tournament in Japan last week.
And Sean Norris actually played in Japan the week before and finished 5th. So this guy's been tearing up the Japan tour the last couple of weeks.
Sean Norris. I'm going to have to remember that name, and I will definitely have him into a couple lineups along with my boy Wes Bryant down at $6,000.
There you go. But yeah, as you said, there's not many names down here that we know, like off the bat. So if you're looking for names that you know, James Hahn, Adam Long, like these are obviously names, but in that range for me, I think it's going to be Sung Kang for me. He's a staple on the PGA Tour, and he's won on the PGA Tour, so I definitely don't mind that price on him.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about, Merritt and Kang are probably the two best plays out of here. Yeah. I like Hagee because of the distance. I like Wes Bryant because he scores birdies in bunches. But I think to your point, those names, because people know them, are going to garner more ownership than they probably should. And so having some pivot plays to some guys that are guaranteed 4 rounds, I think is an important way to differentiate and then give yourself some leverage on the field in terms of ownership.
Yeah, and one last guy that we just throw out his name, Satoshi Kodaira. I know he hasn't been playing great recently, but
PGA Tour winner.
PGA Tour winner. He has course history here. He was 37th last time. He does look like he's ranking out pretty well in your model, 18th in your model, which isn't pretty bad. So obviously he's Japanese, so this is also his part of the world. So he's acclimated to it also. So Satoshi Kodaira, PGA staple, why not?
Yeah, I mean, again, when you're throwing darts, there are a bunch of names. The other guy that, again, he was a hot name a few weeks ago, or maybe a few months ago is probably a more accurate statement, is, father of basketball, Matthew Neesmith.
Neesmith, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot that I bet him.
Yeah, he was a guy here a few months ago where, I mean, you were getting odds at him at like 50, 60 to 1. Now he's down here with a bunch of random sushi chefs, and he is priced at $6,500. So Neesmith's another guy I think you can turn to. Good off the tee, good with distance, and very good in terms of birdie or better scoring. So a guy, again, when you're throwing darts, not a bad place to land.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty much it for me on the dumpster.
Yeah, there's not a lot here. Like I said, it's okay to take stabs because it's a no-cut event. But you're going to have to take a look at ownership. I think that's probably going to be the biggest factor this week when you're making a selection down here is who's coming in chalky, and avoid those guys to differentiate your lineup.
Yep.
Dropping down to the betting card for the week, pretty different for me this week than I've been the last few. I've had very small cards with really, really, I guess, solid thoughts on why I would pick guys. This tournament, I have no idea. I can't bet the guys I want to bet because of the number. So I'm literally taking stabs at any swinging dick that I think has an opportunity. I like Neiman. We talked and highlighted that, but biggest thing for me is ball striking, good on bent. Hasn't had the greatest of form, but I think there may be an opportunity here in this field for him to show up and pop like he did for his first win. Johnny Vegas, just because I don't want to miss out if he wins, which I don't think he will, but I don't want to miss out. 33 to 1. CT Pan, both you and I love him, comes in as the best golfer in terms of form coming in, good in the stat model, played well in the Olympics, a lot of good narrative around Pan this week. Siwoo Kim, pretty much a FOMO bet like Munoz, Ortiz, Palmer, and then a bunch of bombs. And my bombs this week, I literally have sprinkles on these guys. But the only guy that I think has a legit chance other than Sebastian Munoz is Shank. I think Shank's shown that he can compete and be in the mix late in a tournament. So I like Shank a lot at 75 to 1.
Yeah, I like your card. But once again, I think I'm going to get into the more of the live betting this week and seeing if I can find someone at a big number. Just in case if my big bet here of Hideki is not looking good. But I couldn't help myself. I had to get in on him, even though 14 to 1 is not the greatest number. I did put like a little bit over my max unit on a golf bet here, so I put like 1.5 units on Hideki here at 14-1. I'm with you on Neiman 25-1. With you on CT at 40-1. I'm gonna Grace at 50-1. And then the bombs I have are Sloan. I kind of tailed you on that pick. Neesmith, I kind of tailed you on that pick, and then my two guys down there are Sun Kang and Kinoshita at 125 and 150.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is if the odds would have been better on those top three guys, it probably would have been in. Hideki makes all the sense in the world. I'm like you. I'm hoping that maybe he has a bad round one or somebody lights it up, kind of like Keith Mitchell did last week, and all of a sudden now we get a pretty good odd on a guy like Hideki or Morikawa or X.
Just get in on Hideki. If you don't like the number, just get in and juice them up a little bit with. I don't know if your book does parlays, but. Juice them up with a couple football games and you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll be sweating football games along with my golf like you.
Nah, you're good. Just take the Ravens money line and somebody else good money line, and you're good to go.
Yeah, what happened with the Bills this week when you did that?
Yeah, whatever.
So you're right. I'll probably.
I was actually kicking myself that I didn't take Bill's money line on that parlay, but at the end of the day, they didn't win the game either. So
yeah, exactly. No, yeah. I honestly, like when we were talking about it, I thought it was a solid bet. I really did think they were going to win that game. It's just like I said, Derrick Henry decided to show be a man.
If you really like Hideki and you think he's going to win and you don't like his number, just see if you can find a couple football games. I don't really recommend that type of betting, but. If you find a couple football games, some guaranteed games that the team you think is going to win, juice that number up to 20-1. You might hit a winner.
Is Phil playing on the senior tour this week? Because if Phil is, maybe that's the way to do it. I'll just bet Phil.
I actually have no idea, but that guy's unbelievable on the senior tour.
He's like Tiger in his heyday on the PGA tour. It's like Phil and everybody else in the field.
Yeah. Nah, I don't know. But yeah, that's it from my end. Once again, bonus code kindness wins. KINDNES WINS. That's the bonus code for this week. I don't really have much to say about the ZOZO. It's fun to watch it on a Wednesday afternoon here on the West Coast. So I'll definitely be watching it prime time for the next few days. And the best thing about this tournament that it ends on Saturday for me, and I can watch football on Sunday with no golf interrupting me.
That's right. We'll have a full slate of Sunday football action we can put all our attention on and not have to sweat these golf bets and our DFS lineup. So I do like that it starts a day early, and I hope the PGA looks at what this does.
Yes. Why don't they
make
do
the
that?
change?
They
make the change.
That. Absolutely. Yep. They should start during the swing season, during football season. They should do Wednesday to Saturday. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, the other thing too that pisses me off, and I've heard other people talk about it as well too, move the LPGA and the senior tournaments to start on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah, why not?
I would watch golf every day if it was on. Absolutely. Why not move the ladies and the seniors to Monday, Tuesday, and you'll get some people to watch those tournaments and pay attention to what's happening.
Man, these old white geezers have this tradition of Thursday to Sunday. Get the hell out of here, man. Play Wednesday to Saturday. You know they're doing that for Torrey this year, right?
Yeah, because they don't want to compete. It makes total sense. I don't know who
and during that week they're only competing with 2 football games. I mean, yes, it's the AFC and NFC championship game, but the Farmers this year is going to be Wednesday to Saturday. Why can't they do that for like a full? Like they don't want to compete with a full football slate on Sunday. Why don't they just do Wednesday to Saturday? I mean. Is it really going to throw off these guys on their routine? Come on, give me a break.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it's one of those things where whenever you have purists that are making the decisions, they have no way to connect with normal human beings because the only thing that they see is PGA Tour golf. Yeah. And they're like, well, we've got to do it Thursday to Sunday because that's the way we've always done it. The reality is they could expand the game massively by sliding it a day earlier and then staggering the women and the seniors. You would get more people to watch golf. I mean,
I would. I absolutely would.
Yeah, I would watch the ladies play on Tuesday or Monday because there's no other golf on. I have to wait till Thursday to watch golf. And I realize I'm not the core demographic that they're trying to grab. But again, you want to get more people to pay attention. Put it on when there's nothing else on TV.
I agree.
So,
all right. That's it for me.
Yeah, but we should solve the Wolves' problems, but instead we're just going to lose a shitload of money on DraftKings and betting, and then we'll be back here next week talking about how close we were to hitting another winner.
Nah, Hideki by 5 this week.
I like it. I like the call. I might have to do a side bet that with you heads up with Morikawa or Xander. I got to figure out which horse in the race I'd like to do that with.
All right.
So, Well, anyway, that's going to do it for us, Rick. Thanks again, man. Best of luck to you this week. Best of luck to the viewers at home. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget the bonus code, Rick. Can you hit him with the bonus code one more time?
Kindness wins.
Follow the link, go through the prompts, enter the bonus code, 5 extra for the Josh Allen autographed helmet, which we will be giving away at the end of the month. That's going to do it for us. Hope everybody has a good night, and we will see you next week.
See you guys.